As with our um, outline builder, our discipline outline builder for this week, I also wanted to walk you through an example discipline paper so you can get a feel for the things that I'm looking for, the things you may ought to be doing. So let's get right into it. Um, One of the first things you ought to do, remember from the builder now, we're going to have an introductory section. We'll have some middle sections, maybe defining problems with the topic of AI in higher ed. You're going to spend some time discussing and developing the idea of your discipline and what that brings to the topic of AI in higher ed. And then maybe a section on some responses or solutions that could be implemented by somebody in your discipline, like you. So let's see how this example discipline paper does some of that. Right away, I thought was a good move here that um, the idea of a discipline, and in this case, the paper is about communication studies. That's right up front, right off the bat. I don't know how effective this is as an attention grabber or a hook, but at least we kind of are in the ballpark, knowing what this paper might be about, pretty clearly, pretty right away. So that's a good move. Be thinking of something like that in your introduction as you endeavor to situate your reader. Another thing I wanted to comment here on in the introduction, um, these first number of lines here, I think provide the reader a reasonable sort of understanding of what communication studies as a discipline does and is in a very broad sort of overview way. So something like this, I think, could be pretty helpful in situating your reader. So keep that in mind. Even here, we have a source that looks like it's being brought to bear on the situation, sort of confirming or substantiating the things that have been said so far about communication studies. Um, this doesn't look like the type of source that was going to be introduced into the paper in order to engage with it, let's say in the name of analysis or otherwise. It just looks like it's being brought in to sort of add some further dimension to the discussion of communication studies. So in that way, there doesn't need to be a whole lot of transitioning and signposting to it. And I thought this was a pretty good idea also. However, there is this moment where the paragraph is broken here for some reason. This introduction, there's no need to do this. If you're still in your introduction, there's no need to break it up into smaller paragraphs like this. Um, it's not really against the rules. I don't know that I would grade you down for it. It's a bit distracting and it makes it a little bit difficult or tedious to follow. Are you finished with your introduction and now you're starting something new? I mean, that's the sort of question that runs through my mind. So if you're still writing your introduction, just go ahead and keep it in the same paragraph. Um, but here, so we have communication studies, here's a source about it. And then all of a sudden, look at this. One of the most pressing issues currently affecting higher education is AI and the tools that can generate written content. Why do we go from communication studies to suddenly a pressing issue? That is quite an abrupt and jarring transition. We need to bridge this a little bit. We need to have some sort of even brief discussion about what does communication studies have to do with pressing issues in higher ed and AI, and that's jarring. Um, be aware of transitioning like this. You'll want to soften that some. We've talked about how to do that in previous sort of episodes. So, but this is a very typical move that's often made in papers like this. Be aware of that. Let's see. Again, we're talking now here from a communications perspective. So even though we had this jarring transition and there's a pressing issue with AI in higher ed, Um, the discussion was brought back around to the discipline, which that's effective. That's a good move to make. You'll want to do some of that. You'll want to introduce your topic, perhaps. That's the only thing that was sort of missing from up here. We got plenty of idea of the discipline in an introductory way. We got a pressing issue, and then we're bringing it back around to the discipline. So those are good moves in the introduction. The growing reliance of AI in student writing risks undermining rhetorical agency and authentic communication. One of the things I want you to get in the habit of is, why does this matter? Students are relying on it more and more, and that's affecting agency and communication. Why does this matter? Who cares? Those are some of the basic questions you can ask yourself as you're writing. This is going to help you at this point in the introduction. You don't need to go full on into it. You can save that for the body. Here, we're wanting to just hint at, gesture toward what the stakes are, who the stakeholders are. Do a little bit of that in your introduction here. And now we're getting on into the thesis statement rather abruptly once again. We could have had some more to say about this perhaps, but leaving that aside for a moment, let's look at the thesis statement. By emphasizing rhetorical awareness, ethical communication practices, and audience-centered writing, comma. So by doing these things, communication studies solves a problem, basically. It offers meaningful strategies for addressing the challenges posed by AI in higher ed. So it's a pretty clear thesis statement. It's rather concise, but it's okay. The only things I want to mention here and maybe add a little bit more, try to put this in terms, if you're going to do problems and solutions like we've been practicing, say that. Be very clear with your language in this case. It's not that it's not really conveyed here, but we're not quite sure as the reader. Leave the reader with no doubt. Um, Communication studies offers meaningful um, strategies for addressing the challenges, and in the form of solutions. The challenges posed by by the problem of AI in higher ed, something like that. Use problem and solution language. And then once again, what about you know, gesturing toward, well, first of all, where's your argument in this? Imagine this was your paper. So by emphasizing these things, comma, I argue that communication studies, or being from communication studies as a discipline, comma, I argue that. Use some argumentative language in here, and that'll set you up to where you could maybe say something about some kind of counterclaim or counter argument. Um, Try not to neglect those key. They seem almost self-evident at this point. Please try not to neglect those. You need to say them. All right, let's take a look at this topic sentence here. Artificial intelligence is increasingly being used by students to generate essays, summarize reading, and assist with assignments. Let's see, does that have anything to do with our thesis statement? Not really. So already our topic sentence is not really resonant with our thesis statement. There's nothing about discipline here, although, as we'll see in a moment, maybe this isn't the place for it, but that's something to keep in mind in terms of focusing your topic sentences. Do you want to mention your discipline at this point? But what about argument? What about the main claim in the argument? The main claim up here is communication studies offers strategies and stuff. None of that going on here. These tools can produce okay, so we don't need to read all this. This is fine. We've got some context here. We've got integrating a quote here. But then look what happens after the quote. Nothing, hardly anything, one sentence. This is building an argument. This is not, let me say it like this. Let me clarify myself. The the task, the project with this assignment is to build an argument, not make a vague claim that doesn't appear to be connected to anything in the topic sentence. There's some reasonable contextualizing here, but it's as if the writer is assuming that the reader already knows what we're talking about. Please don't do that. Make it clear. And then we name drop a source and breeze right by. There should be many sentences after this point right here, um, after the source is named, after the citation's given. Three, four, five sentences discussing the significance of this source, the connection, the applicability of it. Why did you include it? Are you leaving it for your reader to figure out on their own? Please don't do that. Another concern as that AI is okay. Another concern about what? According to what? According to who? Argument, main claim, your discipline. Again, they just there's a so far a track record of two, but a track record being established of not not enough information seems to be conveyed in these topic sentences. Um, right here, look at this paragraph up here. We had a number of sentences between the topic sentence and the integrated quote. Here we have barely anything. Take this moment after your topic sentence and before the integration of your source material to situate your reader even a bit further, right? Because, especially in this case, there's not a whole lot going on after the quote either, or the paraphrase, whatever strategy you choose. I keep having comments over here on the side about how are you going to include this source material and then just not say anything about it. I'll tell you right now, papers like this, they score very average or below average. This, especially in an advanced writing class like this. This is not the time and the place to be just dropping in quotes and then not having anything to say about them. You could analyze the rhetoric, you can connect it to your argument, you could take it on in a counterclaim, counter argument sort of way. You could relate some personal experience or insight or opinion to it. I mean, you could go in a number of different directions. Just please try not to leave it like this, just a sentence. Um, there's one down here. I think it's even a little bit. Oh, I can't remember where it's at. We'll get to it here. Look, it ends with the quote. There's not even a sentence after it. So please try not to make. Please try to have some more to say about your source material when you include it. Let's see. Okay. The reason why I slowed a little bit in terms of when we got past the introduction up here and we started composing the first body paragraph, and I mentioned, there's nothing about argument here, there's nothing about the main claim, there's nothing about the discipline. The reason why is because according to the discipline paper builder, the outline activity that I have for y'all, this may just be the section where you're setting up the problem. And that's okay. If you're only setting up the problem at this point, that's understandable that you may not necessarily bring in your discipline right away. Um, I personally probably wouldn't write that paper that way, but it's a reasonable approach if you wanted to do it like that. Um, So when you get down to a paragraph like this, my comment over here was, oh, finally you get around to mentioning your discipline. And maybe that's not exactly fair of me. And I would take into consideration what I just explained to you, that maybe you were approaching it in a more regimented way. And I get that. But here, let's see how this topic sentence looks. From the perspective of communication study, the issue of Ehrenhard is not simply about academic dishonesty, but about how communication itself is changing. This is probably a more effective topic sentence than have been previously written so far. So we've got a little bit about the discipline. We got some discussion about the problem here, although it's not named a problem. Um, it's named an issue. And we got a little bit about what that is. So we're heading in the right direction with one. This one still falls short a little bit as far as I'm concerned, but at least we're moving in the more fruitful direction. We got some nice contextualizing going on here. We begin to integrate our quote effectively. Up, then once again, we just drop the quote in and don't have anything to say about it. Here, I got a long quote. What did I, or comment? What did I say here? Yeah, basically, this is where I think I got a little bit frustrated. And I finally started explaining the things that I've been explaining to you throughout this video so far. So, um, we're noticing a little bit of a pattern here in this writing, underdeveloped topic sentences, um, usually bridging to the integration move pretty well. The quotes seem to be integrated okay, but then there's just nothing being said after that. And if this pattern follows, this is going to be a very average to below average paper in that way. So this pattern kind of follows, and I want to just move down here to the what appears to be the section where we start to talk about responses or solutions to the problems. And let's see how that looks. Communication studies offers several possible approaches to addressing the challenges posed by AI in higher ed. This is probably a pretty decent topic sentence, um, except for these things. One, it's almost like it's become a game to try to avoid using the language of problems and solutions. So we have approaches to addressing, that's basically a lot of word salad to say solutions or solving or something like that. Challenges posed by, that's problems. Um, you can just be direct with your language. It's okay. The other thing here is sometimes when we're making a major transition in our papers like this, I get it. How else it's really hard to make that big of a transition. But the caution I want to share with you is when you state in a topic sentence, I have several different things to talk about. Topic sentences are topic sentences for a reason. They help guide, they help direct the flow of the writing and the ways that the reader goes about engaging with what you're writing. And so if you're promising to write about several things up in a topic sentence, often students will write about several things in a paragraph, and it's written in a way that tends to smush everything together and move through it very rapidly. And the result is a very underdeveloped and there's no substance to it. It's all surface stuff because the a sense of urgency gets spurred on in the student's writing that, oh, I only have this little paragraph, but I need to say all these things, and my paragraph surely can't be 2 pages long, so I'll just very quickly move through each one of these, and it turns out to be a very um, superficial. I mean, they rarely say anything. In this case, that there are still single paragraphs apparently dedicated to individual ideas. So the trap was set, but nobody fell into the trap, which is good. Better to just leave your topic sentences to focus on one topic or one idea at a time instead of making this move where I'm going to do several things in one topic sentence. Um, and we get a little bit of, I mean, this looks great. The bridge being built between topic sentence and integration, but once again, there's nothing following it, unfortunately. I this is a good example to show because a lot of students can do this kind of writing and do this kind of writing where they'll have some semblance of a topic sentence. They'll write about it for a moment. They'll have some source, and then they just move on. And I'm showing you this because I want to show you all the places where I would put comments and I would be like, this is, you got to say more. You got to do more. You have a lot of ways to discuss this under your belt now with our previous papers. That you should not be just leaving. Look how brief these paragraphs are, like one, two, three, four sentences. This is an advanced composition class in college. I mean, there's no rule for this, but I would show me 10 sentences, show me 15 sentences, not four. Anyway, um, again, this seems to be a conclusion here. I don't know why it's broken up into little bits like this. Please don't do that. There's no need to. Um, it makes it confusing because I think I'm encountering a conclusion, yet I have three paragraphs. So what actually is going on here? The substance of this conclusion is really it's not too bad. It's pretty effective in a lot of ways. There's still more things that could be done to this, but um, the general moves that are made, I think I think they're worthy of taking a look at. Just know this, I mean, we talked about so much throughout the paper, especially with those dropped quotes, and nothing was said about them. Imagine this was your paper and you go back and you make a lot of these changes. I would hope that your concluding remarks would also take some adjustment as well. So just keep that in mind. You make a lot of changes in your paper, and they're going to affect other areas of your paper, particularly in the way that you wrap up. The works cited looks good. Um, Here's one thing I want to share with you also. This paper was composed by ChatGPT. Um, I fed it my prompt. This is what it returned. And I wanted to give you a little heads up for those of you who are still dabbling with generative AI applications and programs. Um, this is a very typical response generated by AI. And believe me, I have plenty more to say about this in terms of comments and feedback, supposing this was a student's paper for a moment. So if a student were to call on the services of a chatbot to help them with their paper, and they produced something like this, this is the result. Probably somewhere in the D to C range. And not only am I fairly certain that you want to do better than that, um, I have a lot of confidence in you that I know you can do better than that. So let's do better. Um, Hopefully, this will help you out a little bit walking through this paper as you go to start drafting your own paper for peer review later this week and to complete our papers um, on the weekend coming up pretty soon. Let me know if you have any comments or questions or concerned, and I will see you in class.